Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com. I created one heck of a powerful Magic Dragonknight one-bar build. No, they're not dead. You're going to want to watch this video to see proof and how I made the one-bar Magic Dragonknight very strong. Solo, Battlegrounds, 1vx, with 2 craftable sets in Oaken Soul. This still is an absolute monster. If you get anything out of this video, make sure to smash that thumbs up, hit subscribe, and let's talk about what makes this thing tick, why it's still useful. So it's probably most relevant to go over the gear sets first, since y'all skip the skills anyways. Oaken Soul. Now, there's an important caveat with Oaken Soul. Yes, it was nerfed. So no longer does it give a lot of major buffs. It gives minor Berserk, minor Courage, minor Mending, minor Fortitude, Intellect, Endurance, minor Heroism, minor Slayer, minor Aegis, and Empower. So what this means is, in general, it's not that useful outside of just managing your buffs and being a little bit more tanky, locking you into a one bar. But on a Dragonknight, ironically, these minor buffs are extremely strong because you can get a lot of the major buffs with one gear set, and you know what it is. Daedric Trick Daddy! Daedric Trickery is the 5-piece gear set that now with Oaken Soul is absolutely fantastic. Previously, these buffs would be a bit redundant. What Daedric Trickery does, it comes from Vvardenfell, which is actually base game, 8 traits. When you deal damage, you gain 1 of 5 major buffs for 21 seconds every 9 seconds. They can also stack on top of each other, so essentially, as long as you're on target doing damage, you could have up to 3 buffs active in rotation. You can get Major Expedition, Protection, Mending, Heroism, or Vitality. The big one that's always been very useful on the Dragonknight, what I've been using on my hybrid bit, is Heroism. The build in Dragonknight center around building Ultimate with the Battle Roar passive, along with using ultimates to get back resources and constantly staying in the fight using your ultimate as a resource sustaining pool, damage, and also fill you back up and keep you in the fight. That's why Oaken Soul, Daedric Trickery, and this Dragonknight fit really, really well together. So those are the first 2 sets. Now, the other set is craftable from the High Isles called Order's Wrath. This gives a unique buff, increasing critical damage and critical healing by 8%. Well, until it gets nerfed, somebody will watch these videos, but it does give you a lot of critical. So Oaken Soul used to give you a lot of critical damage with major force, but it still gives minor. So that's okay. That's really nice that we can do a lot of critical and critical damage and critical healing in a 5-piece that's on and active at every time when we can't bar swap. Makes it absolutely functional and amazing. So I pair Oaken Soul with Order's Wrath and Daedric Trickery. Now here's some flex options if you don't have those gear sets or don't want to run them. A craftable gear set, actually, that's very, very good on this specific build is Innate Axiom. This comes from Clockwork City and is only 2 traits to craft it. So it basically buffs nearly everything because it adds spell and weapon damage to your class abilities, which, well, pretty much everything on our bar. So it's fantastic 5-piece option. Another one for defensive is Rallying Cry. Now, typically you back bar this because you want the uptime to be procced when you need it, but you can't keep near 100% uptime with this. Great for solo. It's also a PvP set, so you just obtain this by, well, doing PvP. A couple other alternatives you can put on your body for a little bit more tanky. Mark of the Pariah. This comes from Orsinium, or you can buy it from the traders. Very easy to get a hold of. Makes you more tanky the lower your HP goes. And then also Buffer of the Swift. This gives a 10% damage reduction, and it's also a unique buff, meaning it stacks on top of major and or minor protection. So Buffer of the Swift with minor protection and Daedric Trickery proccing major protection can make you extremely tanky, but you're not going to see the damage that you have with the other 2 setups. Now here's what I'm going to run on the gear chart. So first things up is the Inferno Staff. I tried Ice Staff, I tried dual maces, I tried a whole bunch of options. What I liked about the Flame Staff is it kept my time on target high, it allowed me to build ultimate at range, it allowed me to rip off fully charged heavy attacks, and the passives inside of Flame Staff buff your single target damage, which is very, very nice. I also put a weapon or spell damage glyph on this. I've also experimented with Flame. I like the consistent weapon and spell damage this provides. So looking at the jewelry traits, some other things that are very handy is a Swift jewelry trait. We get Major Expedition by a skill on our bar, but you can use other options to get a hold of faster speed. The 2 Swift or more is my go-to. You're also going to see weapon damage glyphs on this chart. It looks very odd, weapon damage. Why we do this is the DK gets minor brutality. Since skills and gear are hybridized, it doesn't really matter if we stack weapon or spell damage, as long as we're using a different Mundus Stone, not spell damage or weapon damage Mundus Stone. It doesn't really matter. So always having Minor Brutality up with an Earth and Heart ability allows us to stack even more weapon damage than spell damage. So it seems weird and goofy. No, it's not a mistake. It's very, very helpful. We got Oaken Soul infused with 1 magic recovery. You can play around with your magic recovery to see if you struggle. And the body traits are one reinforced and then all well fitted. I'm not using block mitigation, so I don't run a whole lot of sturdy. I don't see impenetrable being that valuable because it gives you such a little reduction in critical damage taken. It's just not worth it in comparison to being a roly-poly nightmare Dragonknight. Glyphs, I run magic and prismatic on the big 3 pieces: head, chest, and legs. It's expensive, but you'll get a lot of bang for your buck. And I run 3 heavy, 3 light, and 1 medium flame staff. That's the chart. Also, I have a 1-piece Magma Incarnate. Last little thing to wrap up. This gives you 2 lines of recovery, so it's very, very nice. You could always swap this out for more pen, or you could swap it out for a little bit more max stats, whatever you want, but I love the recovery, because if you can't recover, you're just deady spaghetti. Well, I'm glad you got everything you need out of this video, so don't skip it. I got more to cover. Let's talk about the skills, and you need to know how to use this build and why I have the skills laid out like I do. Keep watching the video. First skill up is Molten Whip. So obviously the Dragonknight centers around Molten Whip. This was changed recently, so now it uses both resource pools, magic and stamina, so it's very hybridized. It does a lot for you. Basically, you set enemies off balance. What off balance does is it allows you to consume a fully charged heavy attack and get double the resource sustain. So you'll see little twirlies over their head and allows you to stun them on demand if they're stunnable or CCable. That's if the twirlies over their head. So if you're out of resources and you set one off balance, rip off a fully charged heavy attack if you can, you get resources back. Another advantage of off balance is you can take the exploiter passive and get a lot of damage to off balance targets. Just realize off balance isn't up 100% of the time. So it's about a 50% window. But that's kind of the importance about the off balance. Now, the real important thing is you need an Ardent Flame ability to get 3 stacks. It's called Seething Fury. Every time you use an Ardent Flame ability, not this, it pumps up your Molten Whip and makes it hit harder and harder. So at 3 stacks, this ability becomes a very hard-hitting, massive nuke. So typically I don't just sit there and do whips over and over. I actually do another skill, and that's Flames of Oblivion. So Flames of Oblivion, kind of a unique, different skill. It has 15-meter radius and a 15-second duration, but it fires every 5 seconds. So if you just leave it on, it will randomly fire, well, every 5 seconds. And it will also fire when you initially cast it. This does give you major prophecy and major savagery for slotting, which is a bit redundant with Oaken Soul. But what it allows you to do is just kind of spam AoE at range while you're closing the distance. In my opinion, it's the best Ardent Flame ability to cast because you can cast it without a target. Noxious Breath or Engulfing Flames, Claw / Venomous Claw / Burning Embers, those got changed to now be 24 seconds and tick every 2 seconds. So they're just tickling opponents. It hits like a noodle. It lasts forever. And with Mara's Bomb running rampant, you're just feeding their survivability. So I don't see that being very useful. Set and forget Flames of Oblivion, cast it, recast it when you engage with targets, pump up that whip for a 3-stack whipperoni baloney. Now we have a mobility tool, and that's Race Against Time, Can't Stop. Isn't that a rap song? What this does is it grants immunities to snares and immobilizations for a short period. Look, I know Sigil Order is a nightmare. I get it. Not everyone wants to get it. So there is actually an option inside of the Dragonknight's class kit that you can use, and CC removal is fantastic for this build. The base morph of Protective Scales and Draconic Power, that will give you something similar in its base game. You don't have to go do Sigil Order and listen to the skull and waste 8 hours of your life or buy it. Now we have our CC component, and there's one obvious choice here, and that's Shattering Rocks. Also Fossilized. You have 2 great morphs to choose from. I went with Shattering Rocks, and what that does is give you a heal at the end. The reason why is you only have 1 on-demand heal. I also tried Resolving Vigor for a little bit of on-demand heal, and I just ran out of stamina too much. But with this, when you're constantly stunning targets right around every 7 seconds or so, you're constantly getting a decent amount of healing outside of your main spammable coagulating blood, which is very hefty on your magic cost. You want to be careful. So experiment with Fossilize, a better crowd control. Experiment with Shatter Rock, better survivability. So you use this Shattering Rock right before you do a 3-stack whip and do your ultimate of choice, Leap, Oroni, Baloney, and nuke someone down. But just realize this can't be blocked or dodged. So that's your control mechanism. Don't waste your 3-stack whip or your leap generally, unless you need to, right before you stun them. Wait till an opponent's low by spamming Flames of Oblivion, a couple whips, get that 3 stacks up, stun them, leap, whip, That's the kill shot. Now up is Coagulating Blood. It heals off your highest offensive stats, so it's fantastic. It gives you a massive whopping amount of healing. It's also based off the health missing, so you don't want to use this when you're at 85% health, though you can. You want to use this the lower you can go. So typically shattering rocks here and there will keep you topped off, or some cross healing, but this is your go-to for an on-demand burst heal. And then you have ultimate of choice. So I went with Ferocious Leap. Now Take Flight, the other morph of this, will have a higher tooltip. Ferocious Leap does a lot for you. It's very low cost. So what happens is you get out of stamina, or someone CCing and harassing you. I didn't have enough ultimate generation to constantly do corrosive armor and lean on that. I also like the gap closing ability of this, as it's really low cost. It has a massive radius. It gives you a massive shield back. So it basically does everything we want for us. Damage, stun, gap closer, very low cost, defensive, and an offensive ultimate. Couple all alternatives, obviously corrosive armor and a 1v1. This will be absolutely disgusting. You'll nuke people down. But in open world, I found Ferocious Sleep better. And then in group play, don't sleep on Shifting Standard. This is absolutely fantastic. You can plop down the banner, has major defile, hits like a hammer, and has a great synergy. Since we're talking about flex spots as well, consider flexing out something, whether it's Shattering Rocks or Race Against Time when you're playing in group, or Burning Talons. It hits extraordinarily hard, especially in a group. If you have a synergy and someone's proccing that consistently, it can absolutely blow people up. But this is my bar setup that's worked. I've done 1v1s. Obviously, I played it on stream doing BGs, basically everything you could actually do, along with solo gameplay. And it works fantastic. So experiment what works best for you. But this absolutely works, and it's very easy gameplay without 1,000 bar swaps and maintaining a ton of buff. Very, very good. So again, in case you skipped over the video, which you never should, the burst combination is simply this. What you want to do is pressure someone with Flames of Oblivion, kind of, light them up, get them gassed up, maybe do a couple whips. And then you're sitting there waiting until they're a bit low, maybe 60, 50% health. And then you want to wait till they're stunnable, so they have the little twirlies around their feet are gone. When you look at them and target them, the number 1 key on my bar in this gameplay footage will light up, so they're a stunnable. If the number 1 key or the Shattering Rocks or Fossilized key doesn't light up for you, that means they're immune to crowd control. So you just kind of wait until that's over, and then you stun them. Usually immediately I leap, because that hits very hard, and then I do a whip with a 3-stack hypothetically. The combination of the whip and leap, if someone doesn't break free quickly enough or dodge roll, usually kills them if you initiate this attack right around 50 to 60% HP. Until then, you just kind of wing them down with heavy attacks, Flames of Oblivion, and doing some whips. Now we're going to switch things up, talk about the champion points and what I've used. Primarily, I play a lot of Battlegrounds, so this works very, very well without champion points. And the gear sets I recommend earlier, some of them are no proc sets, like Innate Axiom, Buffer of the Swift. That's something you can go with, or Mark of Pariah, if you like playing the no proc PvP setup in Raven's Watch currently in the campaign. Just keep in mind, Battlegrounds works very, very well without champion points. So as far as champion points go, in the blue tree, this is going to affect the performance the most. I go with Fighting Finesse, since I'm running a lot of crit damage and crit healing. It's going to be very, very good. This allows me to burst up to full. You're talking 12 to 15,000 crit heals when I'm very, very low, keeping me in the fight. I take Ironclad, the best damage reduction mitigation one. That's going to be 6% at max. And then also I take Focus Mending. This might seem a little bit odd, but I really want that healing in open world, because primarily when I'm playing this, I'm going to be solo. If I'm playing in a group, I'm usually playing my Stamina Dragonknight hybrid, so I have someone that might be cross healing me or doing a little bit of healing. But solo, this is absolutely fantastic, because it goes up to 10% and stacks with other major minor mending and major and minor vitality. And what I think is the best overall damage one is Master at Arms, increasing your direct damage attack by 3%. Moving on to the red tree, I like Fortified for increased armor. Something that's very, very important with this build, since you do not have block mitigation, you have to rely constantly on dodge rolls since you're not using Sword and Shield or Frost Staff, is Survival Instincts. So when you have a status effect on you, your core combat abilities cost 5% less per stage. So you get a lot more dodges and a lot more blocking, even if with the Fire Staff. Celerity makes you a little bit faster, which is very useful in the open world, especially in Battlegrounds if you're not relying on a gap closer. And then Pain's Refuge. We have no source of cleanse on this, so every time someone puts a negative effect on us, we get more tanky. The green tree, there are some performance-related ones in terms of movement speed, War Mount, Gifted Rider, and Steed's Blessing. These will help you out get around, especially inside of Cyrodiil or outside of Cyrodiil. And then Liquid Efficiency, just a custom flex one. Okay, for food, what I experimented with tons of stuff stuff. Usually I go with Smoked Bear Haunch, but this time I went with Bewitched Sugar Skulls. Reason why, I'm using the Atronach Mundustone. So that Mundustone usually gives me all the recovery I want, but I need a lot of stamina. I'm not able to get back stamina on this build, so I'm not using dual wield, or I'm not using a 2H or something else. So I need a generous stamina pool, since when I'm using Battle Roar, I get all my resources back. Thus, Bewitched Sugar Skulls, the bigger stat pool, is the way to go. I don't use any poisons on this as well. And the racial choice that I like is Dark Elf. There are a lot of different choices that you can go with. Dark Elf is just the typical meathead, consistent flame damage, absolute awesome Dragonknight from day one to this day. This is also very good if you intend to play Vampire or Vampire. I personally don't like Vampire. The reason why? The resources sustain is too much. But you could go with Vampire and slot out Race Against Time for Elusiveness and still stay mobile and have great survivability with a Dark Elf. A couple other options is Breton for great raw magic sustain. Nord is the overall most tanky out there and has a little bit of ulti generation built in. And then also Khajiit if you want the most burst possible. In terms of attributes, usually about 32 health, 32 magic. You want to probably play this build at 30 to 32,000 health to be safe. You're probably watching this footage going, Deltia, you're at 27,000. Well, yeah, I've played 1,000 gazillion hours on a Dragonknight, so I can react a little bit quicker. The slower your reaction time, though, the more health you need. The faster your reaction time, the less health you need. Mundustone previously mentioned it, but the Atronach is what I usually go with. Also, another good option is the Thief. If you're sustaining or you're over-sustaining magic, switch to the Thief. Remember running weapon damage enchant, so if you go with something that increases spell damage, it's going to do a nothing burger for you. And now you have it. 1 bar Dragonknight still works. Was my tier list wrong? I don't think so. I still think this is a very good setup, but I don't think it takes advantage of the game's hybridization currently. When I tried to run stamina with the build, did it work? It was okay, but I couldn't get stamina back. If I switched to maces, I could get stamina back, but then I lost my time on target at range, so it was too much to sacrifice. I still like the stamina-ish hybrid better because you get more utility, more bar slots, get more range on your back bar with an ice staff, but I think it's a very, very good build for the average player that can pick up. Since it's craftable, you got to get stupid Oaken Soul. Once that's done, it's extremely tanky, extremely hard-hitting, and very easy to play. Still not S tier, but it's pretty close. My tier list was right. Come on. Thanks for watching this video. If you're still here, click that thumbs up. It would really help me out. Click subscribe if you like these type of videos, and I'll keep cranking them out. Thanks for watching.